Sirens, confining, the end tomorrow for faithful, follow, walk together lifetimes always, turn teasing, fun, poking, wounds, push, this the best side of each other for the brother but sister twisted down the wild, turn these down here in the jungle for the tones, tangled in the wetness and the heat for the dancing of bodies and fresh in the orbiting with the internal cosmologies. Explore new ways of territory, expanding, and maybe deeper spirituality for the weighted slaves of these outer spaces seen inside the reflection of the eyes and who seen the upside down status they are. We've been worshipping false eyeballs for poor reflections and giving more poor proof and this and now for the dancing and the sirens for the distant beat along for the drum path and side by side for the rhythm for the pointing away for the capacity to think and when you listen to the sirens heard. Alive, but help was on the way. Side and I rather for the stepping a point beyond the capacity for the what you could think will I listen for the having already for the death needs no further action upon regret for the understanding that she sits poised upon the poles of four pictures for the picture for herself dead for the fresh makeup and you make up reality for the minds and minions to supporting opposing yet the truth of the burden to the eyes of the heart for the issue for the only reach out for the preaching I find a wretched self which creates two left feet orbiting over each other, so this would be the exploring the territory, the expanding further deeper into the slaves, into the outer space and room, seeing their signs and reflections for the eyes that seem to be upside down, for they are for the men worshiping the false eyeballs and reflections and giving the proof of the mind here now. Dance along those drum paths and side by side and the rhythm for the stepping a point for beyond your capacity. Think you will I listen for the already hurt that for the death needs no further action upon your regret. Understanding sits poised, posed for pictures and picture her dance with the fresh makeup for the makeup reality minds and meanings to find the minds and supporting opposing. Let the truth burn through the eyes of the heart for the issue for the only reach out for the preach out against that for the wretched of the self for the which creates the two left feet for the God herself clothes on backwards and like crisscross or not for the get the eyes to magnify for the sight for the heavy for the lifting the glass heart for the blood for the vessel to work to support for the inflation and extra weight mothers two heart murmurs for the praying and felt by needed. Bending knees for the praying and the salvation for the thirst. Hungers forward with the grasping and not all in vain for the hair. Vain and mirror for the let that leash loosen for the fasting of the kinks of the hair for the winking of for your eye for the soap. In the room for the shitting over the giving and taking the residue for the walls and matches your residue for the heart for the it wasn't Buddha built in the day for the moment for the cosmic construction the self-interest paid for the love and giving. They will be on the way. Patience delivered for the heart. She was drifting bottled and found upon the shore, for this is sure for the universal return of the heart. Amazon never had such an accurate deliver the heart for the himself and unpack for him for the clumsy hands and you held that universe and which is told for the rarity already for the hunking of what you could mistaken for the curses of horns. David the shadow for the distal of the horn enough for the hand for the words that are rebuking your other for the unwelcome guest and brought that for the threshold. Rather each other for the ceremonies and ancestral. Tab for the long for the third wheel for the playing in the fire for the heart for the moth for the flame for this would be the pleasure for the portly place of the importance of the pain for now you stand as a fool of love for the life for the fool for the tools scorched that for the love for the games for the risky business and through the reins and veins of rhyme adrenaline chorus and this is self-talk for the average and seat student for the treading of the razor's edge for the shaved legs and overgrown armpits and the confounded for the books and fine spell stitches spirit you smell that for the awkward creation bruised by the yet unafraid for the skinny bit of stamina for the forgetting and forgiveness and love for the truth for the spoken in language for the yet you have to master I know that for the final show for the unraveling of the universal returning of the heart. Periodically, table the elements. Contentment of your bloody heart. New moons to the rise, repeated for the slightly blind sides of your perspective and swept under the clouds as undergarments to enhance the chest that treasure the heart. Trust funds, please don't enjoy the Jew with the shiny jewels and be too bright for the faith, for the doubt, for the cost of all death, for the dependence and the warrant of dependence. Recognition for the hour to be able to honorable. Honest harness of regret for like hoarders purging urge to consume your organized more than mess, mistaken for the property to be taken as a stake for the less. Alive, miss the mark, another mark, or the silent expression for you to question everyone figure out for, figure the proportion equate for the figure of speech wearing the words you couldn't say. They were on your face and hate to be exposed as barely. Bare thread of an expedition for the list, for the wisp, for the rather red cautionary for the language of barrier from the borders to alienate the pain left without you for the in that state for the here's to be in me again for the like I knew we was going to change and left what was right to begin. Put in perspective again to the circle of the numbers.
Periodically, table the elements. Contentment of your bloody heart. New moons to the rise, repeated for the slightly blind sides of your perspective and swept under the clouds as undergarments to enhance the chest that treasure the heart. Trust funds, please don't enjoy the Jew with the shiny jewels and be too bright for the faith, for the doubt, for the cost of all death, for the dependence and the warrant of dependence. Recognition for the hour to be able to honorable. Honest harness of regret for like hoarders purging urge to consume your organized more than mess, mistaken for the property to be taken as a stake for the less. Alive, miss the mark, another mark, or the silent expression for you to question everyone figure out for, figure the proportion equate for the figure of speech wearing the words you couldn't say. They were on your face and hate to be exposed as barely. Bare thread of an expedition for the list, for the wisp, for the rather red cautionary for the language of barrier from the borders to alienate the pain left without you for the in that state for the here's to be in me again for the like I knew we was going to change and left what was right to begin. And put in perspective again to the circle of the numbers and adding up to the eating of pie without a patience and concern. Wait for the can for to be taken away for any moment for the memos and posted on elongated for the Instagram your memograms and that was posted in a ways that was a young buck with a wild and heart for the board for the mark of the birth. Upon her birth, sinks the feet deep into origins and closes. Eyes to get a better look for the wills of the hearts for the fur. She moved many feel for the desire for the enthusiasm exploration, fascination for the recreation. Placed like a child reckless without a care to consequences, aware for the subtle knowing the safe blanket for the place where there was into the mother's womb for close and shoulders. Still though the tatter for the this less appreciated for the warmer your tricks have been turned to hearts cold. She will yield unreturn. She'll give up to her origins in the thrash of the leaves. Up, around and upheaval. And this is storm before the calm for the sheep will yield and with nature prove. Provokes her to last drop for the resistance of repentance within. You have that sense of what you find, the temples and echoes that reverberate through the hollow halls of possession for the torn up myth, claims and live built. Specifically for the takedown, pick path, laugh less, often travel. She's specifically for the disobedient mistake and future forge and pre-told for past tense and present. Company, excluding the having already traveled the path have been torn. Abandoned long ago for the disobedient banished ship for the whose captains here for the long lost of this rise and fall for the emotion of a sea. The dashes to and fro for the pacification for the competing for the nations and sailing the seven seas for the bloodline for the ghost towns retire for the embracing the ashes she knows and where she will end up with the coping and mechanism for consequences of her pretty face. Booty lace and body sentenced to live. She sings to loosen the hymn of the sour notes from the lineage. Clothed in a calamity for the realm of ruin. That before you arrive for the cloak is stained with the art of life and the line and the harmony for the stepping through space and posing with the life and embracing all beauty. Bath in the light for the suffering. A total pull for the ancient texts of those are native and naive enough. A feeling for the dark for the web for the anti-matter for the answers who just want to be murky unknown for the desires. Revealed on origins and strange. Sunshine and dark matters for furrowed brows and wide lines and irons and dare to not cross the tips, toes, or for the tone. And for the skies are opening your minds and minds to find the past points of the light to arch and darkness. The eyes and those third person represented for the teeth. Revealed in the vulnerability for the she lies naked on the back, revealing the new secrets to the him inside her head for the bringing a new vision for the hopes. Forgotten and renewed for the cell phone plans and recall renewable plans and responding for the contract for the contacted through the stretched out for the cage of the mind for the rivers of the brief for underneath that feet. Plan to meet him in the outer limits and tucked inside the suit of flesh. Exit through exit wounds and sabotaging through savage. Knife is plunging once again. Sneaky ego finds a few tricky ways to stay alive and to plunge herself into the vomit of their words, and unable to keep it down, she stands in shame. Renewed, admitting and reeking and hoping. God is this rip of this arrest and peace of war for suffering away for these scars and ingrown hairs and homegrown habits and no ability for the claiming to just humble clay. Nothing but for the feet in your dirt for the peace treat again. Your hearts and goods are start to the end of where it began is foreign nature. That fool true speaks on processed brain farts have gone twice removed for the matter for the repeat for the one more time for like God's arriving to the Mount Zion rises upon her ass and riding for the chariot whip that plump and pimp and find a strip to the extra glaze and naughty by nature for the driving into the self beginning and enter tomorrow. For faithful follow him until she walk together for the light the times of this will be the teasing and having a poking your wounds the devil the pushing your best out of each other for the brother and sister twisted it down and wild and out of the jungle for the tongues and tangle for the wetness and the heat for the dance and the bodies and friction the orbiting it.
Due to that, peaceful future for the current. Due to that, peaceful future for the current dictator. Due to that, peaceful future for the current dictator for the currency. Manipulation regardless of who's wrong. Expression the rights to be proved and provoked. Protected by bearing arms. Harm for love or not knowing how you actually feel. Victims of the loved ones of the waking up in the morning for the past that repeats itself without wanting to be seen again. Heard in the same place at a different time, but the schedule to be told later than sooner. In a different, darkest lunar rise to the perspective. Higher highs and lows with the dark, tied to the receipt that magically turn rain. Life, shower, hope, longevity, prepare for drought. Harvest what nutrients is necessary to depend upon for depending upon the funding for the survival skills upon the police place and blind the skill to wait divine of spoiled to those secrets to the fish upon those who comes. America to keep it retro and to renovate for the wholesome moist. Told for the part for the departments of the dense metropolitan areas to have a grid. Grinds of determination to stand united for the senses of distinction. Ego and lies of protein for the food chart for the not being revised. Proof eaten by the agro corporation that sold us an expensive lie. Barely making wages that are tough to wedge out the tight crack for the field niggas. Neighborhoods, hood niggas can't get away for the downfall. This is the current rivers going south of enslaved mentality. Institutions. To raps bars without genres, the flag of culture, the solidarity. The self facade of the well that parts together for the still stand strong like steel seal. Confidence of the product will not be wrong or mislabeled for the misled to the pen and paper. Right in the first. It wasn't an air for use with the tempers of flair. There's the music playing loud and the stereotypes. You know the type that always want to say something and less than how you feel numb enough behind the chest of treasure for the found for the map where you show coordinate define the coordinates by starlight. Dark skin segregation saturated for the melanin. Whose rhythm is melancholy for the bending and whole sense that came out of one. Looking for sea level to feel and walk tall in. A world of stories of giants that played on Broadway. South of it for free for the no change to donate to the film they just wipe from their eyes. Remember the glasses they give amnesty the vision. Forefathers decide to the fiction to forget. Forgive them anyways by any means and mean any ways of mean and misleading. Entertainment to train your inner to be tamed. Tampered to the peers with a house of pads. Bled until you profane this lower class getting high with painting. Handy feints, this of walking in the name. Territory to give security for the terror. Alleys and used for gridlocks and shortcuts. You were always hippies that had long hair and hip to your style for the technique. Worn on sleeves like ornaments in the treason for the reasonably priced seasons to participate. Artificial beliefs and moist and stretched limbs to find balance in your limbo to understand. Which bar you raised and bent your back to accommodate what you wanted to accomplish compiling. Complimentary hope for this to be the raised for the enlisted for the eligibility for foster. Care for the knowledgeable for the children and how effective they will be when the effects be felt. Eventually with all time events for the architectural timeline with the quotas or outline. Time frame or memory insert within the wall for built to hang them. Old calendar for the digital world where your numbers don't lie on schedules that face the facts. Assembled in factors below the face value for the bargain shot past that barricade. Sales aren't the same price when you find out what's in store for the discounted generics. These ways of sales are final. We don't give a receipt for a smile you can only have. At least to that for the perceptionist can't resonate for the what you're asking of. She states you're by. I'm by for you wouldn't affect the amount of customers for the selling of version for the time you broke your heart. We are already rich in the grand opening for the somehow simplicity the cost of the competitors for the can't. and yourself fast enough to receive moral, integral business for the jurisdiction of thirsty paydays. Hungry nights and metalheads and metal hearts who can't penetrate to can swipe. Stab your conviction, the convincing your comment for the committed and commentate for the commentary to death the words of tombs of cemetery. Due to that, peaceful future for the current dictator for the currency, manipulation regardless of who's wrong.
Due to that, peaceful future for the current dictator for the currency, manipulation regardless of who's wrong, expression the rights to be proved and provoked.
Due to that, peaceful future for the current dictator for the currency, manipulation regardless of who's wrong, expression the rights to be proved and provoked.